Hi everybody, welcome back. It's Jim. In my last video, I showed you how I make basically bowl blanks from burls and from logs. In this video, I'm going to show you how I now transform those bowl blanks into roughed out turnings. I'm what's called a twice turn turner. I typically will rough things out into a thick form of its finished form, seal it, put it on the shelf to dry. I have a kiln so I can speed things up. So once things are dried to 7%, they're put back on the lathe, trued up, sanded, inlaid, and all that kind of stuff. We're gonna do some burls. I got some cherry. I also have some maple, and we're gonna actually do some crotches too. So that's what this video is gonna be about. And if you do like what you see, please consider subscribing. And don't forget the bell. You'll know when I put up a new video. Typically, I'm going to try and do my uploads on Fridays. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, let's do some turning. Okay, before we turn the lathe on, let's talk about some safety stuff. Yes, I wear gloves when I'm roughing out. I typically don't have to do it when I'm finished turning. These are old, actually, mechanics gloves. And what I've done is I've cut the fingers off them. And that just allows any sawdust that gets in the glove to fall out. If you've got the fingers on the ends of them, then after some time, you'll find you always get sawdust in the ends of them, and it's a pain. I also always wear a shield. Now, I've been doing this for over probably 23 years now. And I've seen horrific accidents with lathes on the internet. I haven't personally, I will share a story with you. I was turning a burl between centers like this, and it had a big split through it, and I just cut away enough wood where that thing come apart, and it hit me in the chest, took me off my feet. Luckily, I wasn't hurt, but that kind of, well, it hurt, but anyway, I was lucky that nothing seriously happened to me. Now, so it hit me here. Can you imagine standing in front of that, just wearing glasses, and that comes off and hits you in the face? It's not going to be pretty. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff on the internet showing people being hit with pieces of wood on the lathe. A lathe is something to be respected. You know, the bandsaw, the table saw, it's probably going to send you to the emergency room with cut fingers or bad cuts. But you know what? This will take your life. That comes off of there and hits you in the head when it's doing 1200 RPM. It's not good. Always wear a shield. As far as tools are concerned, I use a David Ellsworth gouge. Let's see if I can. But it's got a swept back grind on it. When I'm roughing out, I have 4 of these gouges, and they're all in different lengths. So you need a longer bowl. Gouges are not like normal gouges. You need the length in order to reach deep into the bowls off of the tool rest when you're taking out the inside. When you're on the outside, you can use short gouges. It's not really that big of a deal. But when you're working inside the bowl, you need something that's got quite a bit of length. As they get shorter, I just kind of typically use them for roughing out between centers on the outside, and I use the long ones for doing the inside of the bowls. So I'll sharpen all of those at once, and you know, they'll get me through a number of bowls before I have to go back and sharpen them again. That and a parting tool, that's all that I do. Now, all of these bowls that I turn, I put a foot on the bottom. I like a bowl that's elevated off the table. I don't like the ones that are squat and heavy looking on a table. I prefer them to be lifted off the table, give them just a little bit. But I use my one-way stronghold chucks to grab it. So I have gauge blocks that I use. Now, if you did any time in the military, in the combat arms, you would know what a go, no-go gauge is. Well, if you're my age anyway. And so this is the maximum outside diameter of my jaws. And this is the smallest that it'll grab. So as long as my foot is in between these two sizes, then I know that it'll fit in my chuck. Remove any loose bark. Make sure that that's all cleaned off. You don't want to get smacked with that as it comes off. This here, I mean, it doesn't matter. You're going to get hit with stuff. So you better be ready for it. If you've never done any turning, you're going to get hit with stuff. But if you got that shield, you should be fine. Anyway, check that out. Beautiful stuff. So cherry crotch. Okay, so we're all set up. This is, I've made sure that this will clear the tool rest. And yeah, so I'll dial my lathe down just to make sure that everything is good. Then I'll bring it up till it starts to vibrate and, you know, back it off a bit. I'll just take some cuts inwards till we get this flat, and then I'll move to the other side. Again, as long as everything stays on this side of the tool rest, you should be all right. The hearts are just there a little bit. I'll probably take another cut, and that will be probably it. Now I could have left all this and did it when I've turned this around and I'm holding it with the chuck. With these pieces like this, I really like to try and take as much bulk off as I can when it's between centers before we go to a chuck. All right, so I got my tool rest set up, and again, I'm just going to go in, take some cuts, because there's a lot of mass right here, so I'm trying to move that out. And of course, the goal here, I want to be about 1 inch. That'll probably be about where I want it, thickness as far as when I put it on the shelf to dry. So I'll whittle this down. Same thing over here. Again, you won't be taking off as much on these wings. That one probably is the same as the back side, a little thicker there. I want the biggest possible foot I can put on here that isn't, you know, overdone, just so I got a lot of holding power. This one I think is going to have to be just a sweeping gradual curve in, because it's not a really deep crotch area here. Okay, so I've turned this down. I've got a shoulder here for the chuck to grab onto, or sorry, a tenon, and the shoulder's been cut cleanly for the chuck to grab onto. So everything should be, you know, not wobbly on the other end. And as you can see, there's a slight concave here, and I'll match that on the inside of the bowl. And I could do the bulk of that here. I prefer to do it when it's mounted in the chuck. And as you can see, the hearts are all lined up. You just got to watch where your fingers are at all times. So this is one of the reasons why I like turning these crotch pieces. I mean, you got beautiful grain in them, typically. Okay, so in total there is 31 turnings, and in real time it probably took me about 1.5 days to get to this level. Oh, sorry, this stage, not this level. And that'll give you an idea of kind of what they are. Lots of cherry, some maple, lots of maple burls. That's the majority of the burls. And the other thing too is the burl is much harder to cut with a gouge than normal wood turnings. So, you know, in my case, it really cuts down production, but of course you can't beat that. There's some more there. Okay, we're gonna finally do the insides of the bowls. So I turn on a 20-inch variable speed, electronic variable speed general. And the main reason why I bought that lathe is because it has left-hand threads on the outboard end, and that's because I'm left-handed. To work over the lathe bed is kind of backwards for me, so I prefer to move outside, outboard end, and it's just more comfortable for me, and it works. And you know, it's funny, in this world, everything is made for righties, but if you want to turn a really large bowl on the outboard end of this lathe, it's going to be backwards for you, but good for a lefty. So we don't see that very often. And if you're anybody's left-handed, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I looked at those other bowls, the burls and the other bowls, and there's probably 4 or 5 there that I'll core. I'm not sure if I'll show that footage or not. This is getting pretty long. And I don't do a whole lot of coring. If it's a really highly figurative wood and it's larger than 10 inches in diameter, like if the core is going to be larger than 10 inches in diameter, then yeah, I'll probably go for it. Other than that, I'll shoot some footage of taking these centers out. And I like to use one-way manufacturing stronghold chucks. These are number 4 jaws. I think it comes with number 2. The number 4, as you can see, it gives you you can put a really large tenon. I could put a bigger tenon on this if I wanted to, but that's a decent size. And the reason for that is if I happen to get a catch or whatever, something bad goes wrong, as long as you got a lot of meat grabbing that, it's probably not going to come out of the chuck. If you have a smaller tenon on there, you may break the tenon off or it may come out of the chuck. So anyway, bigger tenons, safer to turn. So anyway, we'll shoot some footage of this and then I'll come in the end. So I'm using a thickness gauge. It's important that you have the uniform thickness throughout the bowl when it's drying. So measure it, and if it's within, say, 1/16 of an inch, that's fine. Maybe even thicker than that. But if you've got a turning that's really thicker in the base than it is out near the rim, there's probably a good chance that it's going to split. So as long as you have uniform thickness throughout the piece, it should survive. So yeah, I'm still a little thick right in here. So I'll take that out and then she'll be done. Now that should do it. Now, I'm not concerned about all this here. These are rough turnings, and they are meant to be sealed and set on the shelf. So, I don't really care how pretty they look, as long as there's not massive amounts of tear out in them. For me, that's good enough. I'll put the anchor seal on the inside of this and on the rim, and that's it. So now on these natural edge, I always try to go from the bark in. I find sometimes if you go from the base out, as long as you stop short of the bark area at the very top, it'll probably be fine. But sometimes if you go from the base out, you run the risk of maybe pulling the bark off. So when I'm doing these, you'll see me, I'll come in and go like this, and I'll just try and clean off the bark area before I actually start going deep into the bowl. Anyway, that just kind of will set my rim, and then I'll go in from there. Rule of thumb, for every 10 inches in diameter, the thickness should be 1 inch thick. If you got a bowl that's 10 inches in diameter, the thickness of the bowl should be 1 inch thick. If it's 20 inches, then it should be 2 inches thick. And that's because when these dry, they're going to pull in on themselves and warp and twist. So you need enough meat there to trim that all the way for a finished bowl. See what she is now. I'll just take a little finishing cut in here to clean this up, and it's done. There, that'll do that for that. And that's a good thickness. I don't need to measure it. I know that, you know, when that dries, I'm still going to have lots of meat here to turn away to make a beautiful natural edge bowl. All right, so this is maple burl. I've just sharpened my gouge. We'll see how this goes. This stuff is, it's dried out a bit, so it's probably not going to be very fun to turn, but we'll find out. Sharp tools are the key. And again, I'm using a David Ellsworth 5/8 bowl gouge. Ooh. Boys, that is hard stuff. Hey, so my battery died. So anyway, I just got one more little pass to take on this, and then it's good. There, that's finally done. Okay, so I guess I will do a couple of clips here on my coring system. This system is from One Way, and as you can see, it's got a support, and the knife profile follows the support into the bowl. I have actually 3 of these. They're larger than this one, 2 other ones that are larger than this one. And so that way you can get, you know, the best value for your wood turning block. And I mean, if it's a figurative piece of wood, it is a shame to just core out the center of it and throw out the waste. So anyway, like I said, I've got 3 of these, this being the smallest. And I think, well, this is only a 20 inch. I can only turn 20 inches. So I think the biggest cutter I have can do 18 inches. And, you know, that's 18 inches still a very, very large bowl. So anyway, we'll show a couple clips of that. And it's got a removable cutter on it as well, so you can replace these cutters when they wear out. This is another maple burl. Yeah, we'll see if we can break that out of there. You don't want to actually go in and cut this off. That's not good. I don't think it's ready quite yet. Again, with burl, the grain's kind of going in all directions, so you know sometimes you get quite a small piece, it's quite strong. Yeah, look at all the splits in it. Yeah, I think it's still structurally all right, but there's some stuff that'll make you go, You see all them, these here are all cracks. But I mean, from here, it looks fantastic. And this is one of the problems with turning burl, that a lot of times you don't know this is inside until it flies apart and hits you. And that goes for any wood, really. Okay, so we're all set up for the next one. I'm giving up probably almost 2 inches of depth. This is quite deep here, so this should be further forward, but I can't because it's going to hit on these high wings here. So anyway, we'll get whatever we can get out of it. It's too bad, but you know, I could have got a bowl that was probably 2 inches plus deeper than what this is going to give us, but hey, something's better than nothing. Of course, it's just a little support for the cutter to ride on as it goes in. That'll keep the cutter from dipping down, and it works good. The only knock I've got on it is the tips are really hard to sharpen. If there was a better way to sharpen them or an easier way to sharpen it, it would be a great system. And I recommend getting one if you're going to do any amount of this stuff. Yeah, so I cut around 1 inch and then I slide the support in and then just keep going until I get to the bottom. Yes, sir. This is why burls are so dangerous to turn. That was a big bar conclusion there. And I think that just let go. Either that, no, that didn't catch. I thought maybe this might have caught on the inside of something, but it didn't. And that is why you always wear a face shield. Yeah, what do you think of those, eh? Stack of cherry there. Actually, 2 stacks. Some of this stuff hasn't been anchor sealed on the inside yet. A couple of crotch pieces. And if you look at the grain, I mean, that's why I really like turning these crotches. There's usually a nice figurative grain in them. Maple burls. And that shiny stuff you see in there, that's actually CA glue, thin CA glue. I pour it down on the cracks of the bowls before I anchor seal them. It's a good sized maple burl right there. So yeah, I still have, I don't know, I think another 8 over here to do, smaller ones. But yeah, that gives you an idea what it's like. And as you've seen in the video, when you're turning these burls, you got to be careful. And that's a spalted maple crotch. So the last thing that I do is I put an end grain sealer on. These burls are all basically end grain, so, and it doesn't really matter. I coat all of the turnings that I make. I use the stuff from UC Coatings. It's called Anchor Seal. I've used it for years. It's great. I usually get it in 5-gallon pails. And I just pour it into something that's a little more manageable to use. See that? And then, yeah, I just brush it on. Now, I like to do all the outside profiles first. And so I do all of the outside profiles, put the end grain sealer on them, and then they can sit here probably for months and I don't have to worry about them cracking on me. And of course, this isn't the only way to dry wood. There's tons of information on the internet. You'd have to do a search. You know, I've fooled around with a few of them, but I keep coming back to this. There's one that I want to try that's steaming. But anyway, you're still going to experience some loss with this stuff. I mean, that's just the way it is. I've heard numbers, I've heard people say that 10% is an acceptable loss. 10% for me, I think would be, you know, really bad. I don't want to see that many bowls. I mean, you've got a lot of time and money invested in this stuff. So anyway, they'll go on the shelf for 3 months, preferably, and then I'll run them through my fridge kilns and get them finished up and out to market. Okay, so that's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it wasn't too long for you. I realize again that this is probably geared more towards beginners, but you know, if you've been doing it for a while, maybe you've picked up some stuff along the way there too. As you can see during the coring process, and I just showed a couple of clips of that, it can be dangerous. So if you're looking at a piece of wood and you go, I don't know if I should turn that because it's got some cracks in it or it just doesn't look solid enough, just don't turn it. It's not worth getting hurt. And the other thing too is you could break your machinery as well, which might even hurt even worse. So if you got the time, head over to Facebook and Instagram and check me out there at Sprague Woodturning. Again, I got a lot of great content coming up. I'm in the middle of roughing out right now. Maybe the next video too might be some roughing out videos. I'll have to play that by ear. And I'm going to try and typically upload on Fridays. So until then, stay safe. And oh, don't forget the little bell. You'll know when I put up a new video. See ya.